So in the last few days, we have been contemplating and observing ourselves in the difference between compassion and being polite. So we saw how when we're just being polite, we have an expectation. We expect that we're going to be rewarded for being polite. We expect someone to say thank you or to show us that they appreciate what we just did. In compassion, we don't need validation that what we did was okay. We don't need someone to thank us. We don't need someone to tell us that we did a good job, because out of an understanding of the experience, we have compassion and we just act in the good way. So in the next 3 days, this is going to be for February 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's days number 48, 49, and 50. We will continue to contemplate compassion, but from a different point of view. So many people believe that the opposite of hatred is love, when in fact love has no opposite. Love is present in everything. Whether we see it or not, it doesn't matter. Love is present in everything. The opposite of hatred is compassion. So hatred is what I will call a base experience. And other emotions arise from this feeling of hatred. And I'll give an example. If someone calls you an asshole, you become offended. Maybe your pride is hurt. You feel rejected. You feel angry. But at a deeper level, beyond this feeling of hurt pride, beyond this rejection that you feel, or the anger that you feel towards the person, you actually believe that you are an asshole. So that feeling of hatred for yourself is underlying that. So when someone calls you an asshole, you don't feel hatred, you feel angry, because someone pointed out that you actually do think you are an asshole. So hatred, again, I'll call a base experience. This specific experience, hatred, it doesn't need something else to help it be there. So hatred is a self-sustaining system. It's a self-sustaining concept or feeling. So most people, what they do, they deny the hatred. They just observe the pride. They just observe the rejection they felt. They just observe the anger that they felt. But they don't look at the hatred, because hatred is very good at hating itself. So we don't bother looking at it. We hate hatred. So why would we want to get close to that? So this is what I mean by hatred is a self-sustaining system. It doesn't need you to accept that it's there. It actually enjoys the fact that you don't like that it's there, because then it really continues to be there. It grows. It feeds on that. So hatred, this base experience of hatred, it doesn't need anything else to exist. It's a base experience. And so the opposite is compassion. Instead of hating hatred, you accept that there is hatred. You feel it. This experience of hatred is there. And from that feeling of hatred, yeah, you may get angry. You may feel disgusted. You may feel remorse. You may feel guilty even. You may feel so many other things, but it's because of this feeling of hatred. And the way to resolve or begin to understand this hatred and find peace is to go into a state of compassion. Compassion is the best way to find peace in the fact that there is hatred in yourself, in others, in all of creation. It's there. And instead of being disgusted that someone else feels it or expresses it, look at yourself. Look at how much you perpetuate that feeling of hatred inside of you by hating when other people express it, or when other people act out in feelings of hatred. Look at how aggressive you become to what other people do and how you reject them. This is how you perpetuate your hatred. It's not necessarily hatred of yourself, because hatred doesn't need you to be there. And the proof is, if you didn't exist, hatred still would, because everyone else does. So hatred is self-sustaining. It doesn't need you. It doesn't need anyone else. It just needs itself. And this is why when we live a feeling of hatred, we feel very alone. We reject the world around us. We feel like we don't belong anywhere, because we not only hate others, or feel this feeling towards others, but we also hate ourselves. So we even feel alone and distant from ourselves. We don't really have a sense of identity anymore, because we even reject this. So hatred is one of those things that love, yeah, of course you contemplate love because it's in everything. Eventually you'll find peace. But I find the most efficient way to resolve any resistance you have towards hatred is with compassion. So you observe hatred. You observe this base experience, and instead of pushing it away or rejecting it, hating it, and giving it the feel it needs, you understand it. You, not with the mind, it's an experience. So you go into an experience of compassion, and compassion is to understand an experience by living it. So you go and live that hatred. Doesn't mean you have to express it to other people. This is actually best lived if you just sit by yourself and contemplate this. Allow the hatred to rise. Allow yourself to really feel that. Your temperature might rise, your heart rate might increase. I mean, you know what hatred feels like. At one point in your life, you did feel it. So go back and try to relive that feeling. And instead of feeling guilty for feeling the hatred, or instead of ignoring it now, go and observe it. Go and want to discover what is hatred, so you can finally find peace there. And this act of observing, this act of wanting to know what hatred is, this is having compassion. Instead of judging hatred as something bad, instead of believing that hatred is evil, you go and you want to learn about it. It's there. So instead of rejecting it, how about we find out why we feel it's so bad? How about we find out and discover why, people think it's so evil? Go inside of yourself and discover this. So for these 3 days, February 17th, 18th, and 19th, days number 48, 49, and 50, you can sit alone if you like. You can observe your daily habits, your daily practices, how you interact with people, and discover the difference between hatred and compassion. And know that in both experiences, in both hatred and compassion, there is love. So love is not the opposite of hatred, because love is not the opposite of anything. Love is just love. It's in everything. Compassion is the opposite of hatred. So find that and really accept to go and observe something. Even if it really sucks to feel it, go and feel it anyway, because it doesn't last forever. The last time you felt hatred, it didn't last for a long period of time. Because right now you don't feel hatred. So at one point the feeling goes away. Either you ignore it or you resolve it, whatever. So the next 3 days, observe the difference between compassion and hatred, and learn to be proactive in your observation of yourself, because in you is everything. Every emotion, everything that you think is good, everything that you think is evil, it's all in you. Because if you can see it in the world, if there's something that disgusts you or that annoys you outside in the world, then you have it in yourself. Because if you didn't have it in yourself, you would never be able to recognize it somewhere else in the world. So anything that you feel is first inside, and you can express it into the world because you feel it. So again, the next 3 days, the difference between compassion and hatred. Observe this. Don't ever stay in a feeling of hatred. If you're doing a contemplation on it, go into that state of compassion. Go into that state of, I want to understand, and I want to feel that. I want to live that. Understanding is not intellectual. It's an experience. You have to really get into the experience and want to learn from it and grow from it, and then you get something from it. That's when you gain an understanding. That's when you can have compassion. So any questions or comments, contact me through my blog or through my Facebook or through YouTube. It's your choice. Yeah, enjoy the next 3 days, and I will see you all next time.